the title of our next conference is Like Phoenix from the Ashes, the hotel industry after COVID. And the speaker will be Daniela Hupfeld, Commercial Director for Spain at Pierre and Vacances. Daniela has more than 30 years experience in the hotel and rent-a-car industry in commercial areas. She has worked in international environments like London, Dubai, Brussels, Barcelona, and various cities in Germany, and her employees include also NH Hotels, Jumeirah Hotels, and Europcars. It's all yours, Daniela, for the next 50 minutes, plus the 5 minutes for questions.
All right, then. Hold on. There we go. I hope everybody can see my screen. So hello and welcome, first of all, and thanks for having me. I'm really pleased. So here we go. The title maybe lets you think of what I'm going to say. We are all in the hotel industry and the tourism industry, and I think we've been in the ashes quite some time now. So let's have a look how we can possibly get out of it again. Again, that I'm going to cover today is we're looking at the status quo. That is pretty short. We're looking at the future outlook. We look at possible actions to take. We're going to have a little summary. And then, as Jaime said, we have some time for Q&A. You've introduced me already, Jaime, so I don't need to report that. Currently, I'm sitting in lovely Barcelona. So I'm sitting in one of the nice spots where it's nice and sunny. And here we go. So basically, what I'm saying is, let's get rid of this. The status quo that we're still facing, having been facing for the past 18 months, is that many hotels in the whole wide world are still even closed or were closed for a very long period of time. Hotels still face a very uncertain future, like the whole tourism sector. We might see now in Europe or in Southern Europe that business for the leisure part comes back. Having said that, it's not the same in the whole world yet. Hotels, as most of you know, have perishable inventory, which basically means for us, what we do not sell today, we can never be selling again. And that, of course, in consequence, leads to loss of revenue or loss of revenue opportunities. And that could and already has led to insolvencies in the sector. So many colleagues actually still on reduced working hours, or they are even unemployed. I still have people in my team that still are on reduced working hours. We see many bars, restaurants, hotels, and also travel agencies that are faced with financial problems at least, or even bankruptcy, which is of course caused by the long lockdown period. The airline has reduced flights and destinations dramatically, and they only very slowly get back on higher volumes. It's not so easy when you're taking literally airplanes out of operations to get everything back on track. Governments, depending on where you're living, are still today unsure how to support the industry, or don't even have the means to do so. So that's very different from country to country, of course. But having said that, in many areas, and I'm sitting in one of them, the support is fairly limited. And the rules and regulations are often also not clear and not well understood. So it's currently, you need this test, you need this test, you need your vaccination, you don't need your vaccination. Every country is different, and within the countries, even the regions are different. So what do we know, however? We have learned quite a bit. So basically, the historical data that, especially in revenue management, we used to be looking at is not as relevant anymore as it used to be. You can't look at the past 18 months and do a forecast. That won't work. The travel situation is not clear at all. So we're faced with many changes, as I said, and we don't even know if we can take our holidays now in July and go somewhere in August, or it will be like last year, where we could go, and the next moment everything was put on hold again. The hotels do therefore not know how many or also what kind of customers they can expect and when they can expect them. We face this additional cost in the hotels because due to the hygienic regulations, we have to put many, many measurements in place. The price is not as relevant anymore as it used to be because people have now other values that they find more important. The buying power of customers might be less than it used to be because many people are unemployed or on a short income. And people might fear traveling abroad and therefore prefer domestic destinations. Hold on. So basically, when we're looking at all that, what is bad, let's look at what is not so bad. And we know that people always want to travel. We've mentioned it already before. We can't wait to travel again. Business will remain important, business travel. It will come back. Events like this are great, but frankly speaking, I think it would be also nice to see people in person again. And that's why meetings will take place again. I think that's also a very important part that's been completely lost, and it will come back. The tourism industry was always very resilient. We've been through many, many crises before, so hopefully we will survive this one. People are flexible and we always get accustomed to new circumstances. So therefore, I think there is hope. Lead times will become shorter and very, very unpredictable. We're looking at 2 to 3 days at the moment maximum. And we all know that every challenge also has an opportunity. And one of those opportunities, and I think Jaime has mentioned it before, I'm not sure, is actually the domestic leisure travel. That is a chance, and we need to address national customers when we are working in the hotel industry. Country Spain was very much dependent, and obviously still is, from international travel. But with the situation last year and this year, things have changed a lot, and customers travel now more within their own countries. We therefore need to promote selling points for the properties that we actually have. In our case, we have a lot of apartment buildings, so we're easily accessible by car. Apartments are available with kitchenette in the apartments. We can isolate from other guests, and we have hygiene regulations in place. So it's important that we make that known to people. Social media, we talked about tech a little briefly before. Social media has become the only means of talking to people over the past 1.5 years. So we need to communicate to our customers, but we can't communicate always only via price. But we need to use social media than ever before, and we need to engage with our customers. We need to be there for them. We need to entertain them. And we need to make sure above all that we have an omni-channel communication. So we need to bring the same message across in all the channels that we're communicating in. And we need to offer our product, in our case, the hotel rooms, the apartment rooms, the holiday destinations. We have to have clear and easy offers. We should not confuse our customers, which still is often the case. We need to have flexible rates. We need to have less restrictions. When we do condition rates, we need to have clear conditions that the customer can understand. And we need to stop unnecessary discounting. We're not having a price problem out there at the moment. The problem is something completely different. So therefore, we need to have a fair price for our product. The price policy, a good and safe product in all areas comes with a certain price, and it's the same with hotel rooms. So we should not really overly discount. We need to promote fair and sincere offers that are understandable to our customers. We need to watch our competition, of course we do, but we shouldn't let them do our pricing. And we should not get into a downwards pricing spiral, because once we get in this, it's very, very difficult to get out of it again. And unfortunately, what we're seeing, especially here in Spain, is that even though the problem is not price, the problem is COVID-19, the problem gets fought against by price. That means prices keep going down and down and down and down, for really no good reason, because the product is good, the product is safe, all measurements are in place. So we should really ask for fair price. Talking about the revenue manager's core business, which is forecasting. Frankly speaking, it's never been that difficult. We don't really know what to predict, because from now into next morning, many, many things can happen. Having said that, we still can't give up on forecasting, because it's the core of our business. So if we don't know how many customers we can expect, we don't also know what to charge them. So forecasting, even though it is really, really difficult, we still need to stick to the discipline of a regular forecast. What do we need to do different? Historic data, as I said before, it cannot be the only valid source of information any longer, because the history is basically dead to us by now. So we need to check all our information every day, the new information. We need to store it and make sure that we can use it for the future. So that's the daily reservation flow and pickup. It's the cancellations more than ever. It's the competition's pricing. It's also the airline information, especially in leisure destination, of course. We need to ensure correct data entry into our systems, and that includes the hotel receptions. We need to monitor trends, and we also need to monitor regulations from the governments in our locations, but of course also in the feeder markets. And this altogether will lead us to a better pricing. So also coming to an end, and I don't think Christian needs to be worried that we overdo our 15 minutes here, because we're actually quicker than that. When I sum this all up, and I think the most important message is always in a crisis is that every challenge has also an opportunity, and surely this one has some as well. We need to collect new data, as yesterday's data is less reliable. We cannot also rely on automated systems only, because if you're working with revenue management systems, you will find it a little bit difficult to get information from them, because as we do as humans, the system finds it very difficult to forecast as well, and it cannot understand what's happening in the world. If price is not your issue, please don't fight the issue with price. The current situation is not a pricing problem. Pricing and revenue managers need to be more vigilant than they ever have been before. The customer has not price as the most important component of this decision-making anymore. It's many other criteria that are important. We need to adapt very, very quickly to changes, much quicker than we used to. And we need to evaluate our situation afresh every single day. And if we do that, we'll hopefully rise again. And here we come to the conclusion of this, like phoenix from the ashes, that goes for the whole tourism sector, hopefully. And I come to an end, and we have time to Q&A. Anything? Reimer? I can't hear you, you're mute. There we go.
Okay, yes. Okay, here it is. Thank you. I'm sorry for the delay. Thank you. Great presentation, Daniela. We have some questions for you. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay. Out of all the opportunities mentioned, is there one that is more vital than others for a hotel to survive?
Depends on where you are. Is that, do we know by any chance if that's a question from a leisure or city destination or business destination?
We don't really know it.
No. Okay, I put it on leisure then, because that's obviously where I'm coming from currently. It really depends on your property. What I find right now, when we're talking about direct and indirect business, and when I look back to the past 18 months, how the relationships were with our indirect partners, let's put it that way, and that might be tour operators, that might be OTAs, bed banks, whatever have you. The situation was that the support from some of the partners wasn't really great. First, what happened? You didn't get any bills paid because nobody was making revenues. However, we were sitting on outstanding debts, and still are, from like a year ago or 2 years ago. So the excuse or the reasoning for that is obviously we don't make any revenues now, so we can't pay you. But hey, the stay's been a year old or 1.5 years ago. So that is one thing. The other thing is that there have been lots of new rules and regulations with some of the OTA partners and bed banks that all benefit the end consumer and the OTA, but they hardly ever benefit the hotel. So the conclusion of that is, look at the partners you work with. You might want to go through that and do a few changes. That's one thing we're working currently on. Also try to reduce the dependency on certain partners that you might have had in the past. And then I come back to social media, like it or not, but there is no way without it. So make sure content is in order. I think Martin said that before. It is the only thing people see of you these days. And we are not super good at that, I have to admit that. So we're doing a lot of work at the moment to do that. And it's so important that we engage with customers, because everyone tries it. Before we spoke about loyalty, this goes in the same direction. If you don't have a loyalty program yet, try if you can do something. Work with repeat customers, with loyal customers, things like that. So the engagement with the customer, with the end consumer, the reduction of dependency on third parties, that would be what I'm doing myself and what I would recommend.
Okay, thanks a lot, Daniela.